ॐ शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये. Om. Dear friends, welcome to Geeta. We were seeing a very interesting and also rather controversial sloka. It is not a controversial sloka, but on that sloka there is a lot of controversy which has arisen in the Indian society. So that is the reason why we can call it. There is some controversy about it. What is that? That is Chaturvarnyam Maya Srushtam Gunakarma Vibhagashaha. So I was just explaining to you as to what exactly is the Varna. The meaning of that sloka is, that is the 4th Adhyaya, 13th sloka. 4th Adhyaya of Gita and 13th sloka. The meaning of that sloka is, that is Chaturvarnyam, that is this group of 4 Varnas has been created by me. And Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, by virtue of the innate nature of the human beings and also by virtue of the karma, by virtue of the activities they do perform. So, Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, there is something which is called an innate tendency or a basic nature of a person and also the type of activity which he does. So, that is what he said. So, I was explaining to you as to what exactly is this Varna, because we very often confuse this word Varna with caste. So, we often think that, okay, Bhagavad Gita has created this caste system, etc., etc. Bhagavad Gita has not created the caste system. So, the caste is something which is a sociological phenomena, which I am going to explain later. I explained to you yesterday what is the meaning of Varna. Varna means Varnayati. We know that a poet describes something, that is Varnanam we say. Varnayati means that which describes, that which tells about a unique characteristic of a particular person or a thing. That is what is Varna. So, what is this? What is that unique characteristic about the nature of a person? We are now bothered not about the color, creed, etc. We are now bothered about the innate nature of a person. What is the innate nature? And I was telling you, in all social fields, in all fields of society, we do evaluate people. If you are working in any organization, your boss is trying to evaluate you as to what is your nature and to what job, to what particular job you are suited. In fact, I was explaining to you the type of confidential reports which are written in the government and the type of language they use. And if we remove, instead of the modern language, if you substitute the old language, that is Sattva, Rajas and Tamoguna, basically what we are seeing is what Krishna defined in this Gita, that is Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, a combination of all these 3 gunas. That is precisely what we are looking for when we are examining the people in any organization, particularly in say organizations like administration, police, etc. What are the supervising abilities? Is he having that ability to take, is he having that leadership qualities? All these things are, and what are his abilities to communicate, and what are his abilities to take risk, etc., etc. All these things I explained to you yesterday. And those words, if the modern words are replaced by the old words, we will find that the same analysis on the basis of Sattva Guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna we are doing even today. That is what I explained. And in the entire human nature, except these 3 strands, that is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, there is nothing else. Not only in human nature, in the entire universe also, Geeta is going to say that in the entire universe, there is not a single thing which is not a mixture of these 3 gunas. And I was telling you, the vegetables we eat, some are having Sattva Guna, some are having Rajoguna, some induce Tamoguna. Everything, not only vegetable, what all we see, animals we see, some are Sattva Guna, some have Rajoguna and some have Tamoguna. So, like that, not only human beings, but every animal, every living thing, every tree, every plant, every vegetable. So, they all display these 3 characteristics. So, I was telling that, and thereafter, how this Sattva manifests in a person. I told you, Sattva manifests in a person. I will not repeat too much. That is, Sattva manifests in a human being, a person who is righteous, basically contented, and somebody who is knowledge oriented. A person who is follows that ahimsa. So, that is what is somebody who is not very ambitious. He is not ambitious means he is ambitious in terms of his vidya, in terms of his knowledge, but not ambitious to overpower others. He doesn't have ambition to rule over others. So, that is one type. That is what is called Sattva. Rajoguna manifests in two levels. That is, somebody who wants to dominate others, who wants to rule over others. That is one type of Rajoguna. The other type of Rajoguna is he wants to acquire more and more money, more and more wealth and material. So that is another type of Rajoguna. And the Tamoguna is a person, it manifests in a person in the form of lethargy, a person who lacks initiative and drive, to use a modern expression. A person lacks initiative and drive, he needs to be driven, he needs to be goaded. So that is what we saw. And then again, if we want to give some names to these gunas, suppose somebody is predominantly Sattva guna, somebody is predominantly Rajoguna, and in that Rajoguna somebody is a dominating type, somebody is acquisitive type, and predominantly somebody is Tamoguna. So if you want to give the names are what have been given by our scriptures. Now our scriptures, not only Geeta, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad if you take, I am also going to quote from that. So this, what our people have done is, they have given some names. A person who is predominantly Sattva in nature, he is called a Brahmana. A person who is having predominantly Rajoguna, and predominantly Rajoguna in terms of overpowering others, in terms of dominating others, he is called a Kshatriya. A person who is having this Rajoguna with predominantly having that acquisitive tendency, he is called a Vaishya. And somebody who needs to be driven for all these things, he was called a Shudra. So that is what these four names have been given for people depending on the innate nature. And that is what, to that extent I have come. And what are the duties? Guna karma vibhagashaha. We have seen the guna, or rather the nature of a person. Then what is the karma? What are the karmas which have been allotted? I will straight go to the 18th chapter of the Gita. Of course, we are also going to see that later. But right now, in order to have a comprehensive understanding of what is this Varna Vyavastha, because it is this Varna Vyavastha which is causing a lot of nuisance in our society, and many people who are against the Indian society, they try to divide the Indian society. They are making efforts to divide the Indian society. So we have to understand what is there in the scriptures and what is there in the field, and is there in what exactly, what can be done, etc. We have to see. So I will go to 18th chapter, to 18-42 rather. 18-42. What are the duties which have been allotted to these people, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra? Brahmana's duties are Adhyayanam and Adhyapanam, Yajanam and Yajanam. Adhyayanam, Adhyapanam is he has to study, he has to teach. And he has to perform yajnas, and he should also assist other people. Yajanam means he has to assist other people also in performing the yajnas. And again, all the scriptures, they say that a Brahmin is not supposed to go after sensual pleasures. He is not supposed to be greedy. He is not supposed to acquire wealth. He is not supposed to run after money. And he is supposed to do tapas. He is basically to observe very strict austerities, to observe very strict tapas. Brahmanasya tu dehoyam Shudrakamaya neshyate, says Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. That is, a Brahmana's body is not expected to indulge in sensual pleasures. It is only expected to do Krichraya tapasechaiva. It is supposed to do very strict penances. And only thereafter you will have a nice, good afterlife. But in this life you have to struggle hard. So that is what it says. So what Bhagavad Gita says regarding that is 18th Adhyaya. If you see the 42nd shloka, it says, Shamo damaha tapas shaucham. I will not read the entire thing because it will take a lot of time. I will briefly explain. That is, basically a person is supposed to have restraint of mind, shama, that is restraint of the dhamma, indriya nigraha, that is controlling the senses. And then he has to do shaucham. Shaucham is that purity of mind, purity of heart and purity of speech. Then arjavam, that is straightforwardness. Jnanam, vijnanam, astikyam. Jnanam, he is supposed to be pursuing knowledge. He is supposed to be astika. Astika means what? A person who is a believer in something which is above. He should not be an astika. He should be somebody who is a believer in something which is supreme, and he has to propagate it. So these are the duties for a Brahmana. And the duties of a Kshatriya are basically for protection of the society. Shauryam, Tejo, Dhrutir, Dakshyam. Shauryam, that is valor, and Tejasa is that high spirit. Then Dhruti, high ability, great willpower as we call it. Dakshyam is ability and skill. And Yuddhecha Apyapalayanam. And in case of a battle, he is not supposed to show his back, he is not supposed to run away. And also, he should also be generous to people. He should also be generous, that is Dhanam Ishvara Bhavascha. Ishvara Bhava is leadership quality. This is a wonderful word, Ishvara Bhava. That is, he feels he is high. He is the ruler. That is what we see in among the politicians also. He feels he is having that dominating tendency. So Ishvara Bhavasya, these are the things. The a Kshatriya is supposed to pursue. This person is a person who pursues these things. And who is a Vaishya? Vaishya, we have got a very narrow understanding of the word Vaishya. In fact, till I read Geeta, I had a very narrow understanding of Vaishya. Vaishya means, okay, we have seen some gentleman who is doing some business in our locality, and we go to a shop and then we get some groceries, and okay, that Vaishya gentleman, a very happy, very nice gentleman. So that is the feeling I had. But if you see the definition for Vaishya, in olden days, what was the meaning of Vaishya? All the citizens, all the people who were engaged in producing wealth, who are basic pillars for the economy, they were all called Vaishyas. All the people who were engaged in building economy or building wealth, that is, they were called the Vaishyas. Who are they? Krushi Gaurakshya Vanijyam Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam. There were three important ways of generating wealth. What were they? Krushi. Krushi means all agriculture, as we see now. Krushi, the same word, we continue now. Gaurakshya. Gaurakshya means cattle rearing. In olden days, when computers were not there and technology was not there, what were the most important fields of economy? If we see Mahabharatam also, when these Kauravas, they invaded Virata Raja, what did they do? They took away all the cattle, lakhs and lakhs of cattle. So that was a big wealth. In those days, cattle wealth was a very big wealth. So like that, Krushi Gaurakshya. Gaurakshya means cattle rearing and cattle farming, as we call it. And the people who, even including Lord Krishna also, by this definition, he comes under the definition of a Vaishya. Though we now consider that Yadavas something, they themselves consider they are Shudras. But according to Geeta, they are the Vaishyas because they are economy generating people. They are in charge of this Gauraksha. Not Gauraksha means, I am not talking about Gauraksha vigilants. Gauraksha, the people who go and stop lorries and all that, I am not talking about them. I am talking about the people who in olden days, the people who produced this cattle wealth, because cattle wealth was a very important aspect of the wealth in any kingdom. Then the third one was Vanijyam. Vanijyam now, that is trade and commerce, as we say. And many of our Vaniks, we know that these people, they went abroad, they went to various countries, and particularly the business people from South India, particularly those from Tamil Nadu, they went to all the Southeast Asian countries, and they built huge structures there. They built huge, temples that Angkor Wat and temples like that. So they spread our culture also. They took our culture along with them, along with the business. So that is the Vanijyam. Vanijyam is, in olden days, they used to travel to so many different countries for Vanijyam. In olden days, they were all seafaring people also. Somewhere in the Middle Ages, somebody started saying that no, one should not cross the sea. So thereafter, all the people, they shut themselves. And the people are not willing to cross the oceans. And even now we find some people who do not want to cross the ocean and go abroad. So anyway, so Krushi Gaurakshya Vanijyam Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam. That is, their innate nature is that. So this covers many people in the society. If I confine my definition of Vaishya to some Vaishya gentleman who is doing some cloth business or some sort of grocery business, I am excluding all the other people. Now, all categories of people who are doing business, including the TV production, including the TV now, where we are seeing. So, this entire thing is Vanijya. They are all Vaishya. Krushi Gaurakshya Vanijyam, Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam. More than 80% of the people in the society are covered by these three definitions. That is Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishya. The remaining people, only maybe 10-15% of the people, they were for, what was their duty? That is basically serving all other categories, because the Brahmana needs some services, and this Kshatriya also needs some services, and the other people, the business people, they also need some services. So all the serving people, they were called the Shudras. So these are the duties which were allotted to this particular category. Okay, now we will come back. Now the most important question arises. Of course, there is one more point, a small point is, these first three categories, that is Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishya, the first three categories, they were called Dvija. Dvija means what? Twice born. I think I told earlier also, Dvija means twice born. How is a man twice born? That is, one is the biological birth, then the second is when he undergoes that thread ceremony. He undergoes that thread ceremony and puts on that, and that ceremony called Upanayanam, and from that day onwards he starts doing the Sandhya Vandanam. So, that is the second life. That is supposed to be the second life. So, these three categories, including the Vaishya, including a farmer, that is where kindly visualize that old society in which all the farmers, they were called Vaishyas. All the business people, they were called Vaishyas. All the Yadavas, now what they themselves call as Sudras, now they were all Vaishya category. Lord Krishna also, we know that Lord Krishna went to Veda Patashala, went to what is that Guru? He went to a Guru called Sandipani, and along with that poor Brahmin friend, what is his name? Sudama. He had a very poor Brahmin friend, Sudama, whom he gave a lot of money later. So he studied there along with that poor boy Sudama, and he was a very rich man. Lord Krishna was a very rich man. He was a Yadava king. So then, these are the people, these three categories, they were not allowed, they were all doing Vedic studies. They were all doing Vedic studies. Only Brahmana was supposed to be teaching, whereas all other people, they were also studying Vedas. And in our society also, if we see till recently, even today, there are so many Vaishyas who are very great scholars in our scriptures. Particularly in Andhra Pradesh also, we see Andhra and Telangana, but particularly in Andhra region, there was a place called Kalahasti and some other places, where there was a particular Vaishya teacher, a very famous, very renowned teacher, Vidya Prakash Anandagiri. He produced hundreds of scholars. So, like that, till recent times, there were so many people among the Vaishyas who were very great scholars in Sanskrit, who were very great scholars in scriptures. And Upanishads say that in a particular place where a Brahmin teacher is not available, you have to go to a Kshatriya. If Kshatriya also is not available, you have to go to a Vaishya and learn the Shastras. So, learning the Shastra was the most important thing. And the Guru, preferably because this gentleman, this Brahmana, has no other business than teaching. Brahmana's duty was to lead a very, very simple life. So, from person, okay, if that man teaches, it is good. So, that is what was the intention of making the Brahmana to teach the Vedas. So, that is what is the basic structure which we find in the Gita. Then, another question comes, a very, very important question. Is this by birth? Is this Varna decided by birth? A Brahmana's son, will he automatically become a Brahmana? And a Kshatriya's son, will he automatically become a Kshatriya? Like an IAS officer's son, automatically he doesn't become an IAS officer. Maybe a politician's son may automatically become another politician. A chief minister's son may become a chief minister, we do not know. But here this Brahmana's son may or may not be a Brahmana according to the old pattern. Much later, when the Varnas got crystallized, it so happened that, okay, Brahmana's son was accepted to be a Brahmana. But in the beginning, what was the structure? If we see, there is a big discussion in the same Bhagavad Gita. By Bhagavad Gita, many people have written commentaries. And there is one commentary by Neelakantha Chaturdhara. It is not a modern commentary. It is again a very old commentary only, sometime in 14th, 15th century. Neelakantha Chaturdhara. And that writer, he has commented on the entire Mahabharata. We see that Shankaracharya's Bhashyam is only for 1 or 2, 3 parts of Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, Shankaracharya has commented on this Bhagavad Gita. He has commented on a particular thing called Sanat Sujatiyam, and he has commented on Vishnu Sahasranama. Some small 2, 3. Anugita, there is another small portion. So, on small portions, Shankaracharya has commented. And many others have not commented. For example, Ramanuja, of course, he has commented on Geeta and commented on some other small parts. But this gentleman, Neelakantha Chaturdhara, has commented on the entire, he has written commentary on the entire Srimad Mahabharata, on the entire Mahabharata. So, what he writes, we have to see, Varna is not a watertight compartment. What he is going to say is, for that sloka, under the 18th chapter I was telling you, there is a particular sloka about Brahmana Kshatriya Visham. What has been told here is being repeated there in the 18th chapter by way of summary by Lord Krishna. So, there he again talks about Brahmana, these 4 Varnas. So, there Neelakantha Vyakhya, this Vyakhya or commentary by Nilakanta is worth studying, and because I have to read it aloud and I have to read and explain to you, we have to continue tomorrow. Harihi Om Tat Sat.